Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Final Flight podcast. We're here again for our Cheltenham Festival anti-post countdown show. It is week 15. Yeah, it's been a decent week. A decent series so far, and we've got another fantastic guest joining us tonight, Stephen Mulqueen. How are you, my friend?
Not too bad, thanks. Not too bad yourself.
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thank you, and thanks again for coming on and giving us up your time and have a good chit chat about the horses. I'll come to the lads. We've obviously had some really good guests on throughout this whole series. It's probably gone a hell of a lot better than we thought it ever would. You know, having all the jockeys and the trainers on and things like that. Joe, Rich, I mean, we obviously had a decent weekend. Are you guys ready for tonight's show?
Yeah, 100%, mate. Very good weekend. Good weekend of racing too. And like you said, another top guest to follow on from the top guests we've had on all season, really. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Rich?
Yeah, just like Joe said, some good racing. You know, we had a fun weekend racing-wise, didn't we? So, yeah, like Joe said, I didn't think we'd get one guest on, never mind 10 or whatever we had. So, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, it's been brilliant, and hopefully it will continue to grow and get better. Right, Stephen, if I could come to you first, mate. Like what we normally do is we just talk through a little bit of the weekend's racing, the weekend's results. So we'll kick off there. Plenty happened over at Ascot, Haydock, and Wincanton, and there's only one place to start. We have a little bit of a running debate with a guy called John on the show who comes into the chat all the time. He's a mega fan of Apple Away, and obviously you've got a bit of a connection there as well. She obviously come third. I thought she ran pretty decent. What were your thoughts, and what do you think's next for her?
Yeah, I thought she ran a good race. I'm not sure when you look back through sort of the races she's ran, and I don't know, she may be better on her best form is maybe on a flat track, so Doncaster, Aintree, stuff like that. She's quite relentless. She's got a very high cruising speed, and she kind of just gets into that rhythm and sort of just keeps plugging away. So I'm not too sure what the plans are with her. I know they were all pretty happy with her the other day, and she's come out of the race fine. So I'm guessing they'll maybe look at Cheltenham or maybe even save her for the entries. You know, she works around the track.
Do you think, I sort of, when we've spoken to John and things like that, they've spoken about maybe the ground and things like that. Do you think it maybe got a little bit quick for her? I know it were officially good to soft, and a couple have maybe said she maybe wants it a little bit deeper than that and maybe a bit more of a trip. What do you think on that sort of note?
I was surprised one day when she ran at Doncaster. I think the ground was pretty good. The day I rode her at Aintree, they got a little bit of rain, but Aintree do a magnificent job with the ground, so it's normally always nicer ground there than a lot of places you go. She's a very versatile mare, to be honest. She's very straightforward. So I don't think ground. She probably just wants, nice genuine ground, I'd say.
No, fantastic, love it. I mean, obviously you rode her in the Aintree Grade 1, and we're obviously massive fans of Irocco, and there's been this whole debate back and forth. But as a quick question going back to that, what? I mean, obviously we're never going to ride a Grade 1 horse. What was it like that day running at Aintree and winning that race?
Yeah, it was surreal. To going down there, if she'd finished in the first 5 or 6, we'd have probably been delighted. There was no pressure whatsoever because we were all going with that sort of mindset. That she's very easy to ride. She's one way of going. You can get out to the front and let her do her thing grand. If not, sit where you're comfortable. And to be honest, it all went according to plan A, really. I popped out in her and she got into a lovely rhythm there. And to be saying Ryan Day, he was the first man I seen when I went over the line, and he came running up to me, and because there was no pressure of the day, I'd actually forgot it was a Grade 1, and he was shouting at me. So that was the first person I seen.
So we had to remind you that you just won a Grade 1. You'd forgot. That's brilliant.
He did, yeah. So they said there was no pressure. Do you know what I mean? It was just the way. Another race, and looking back, it's probably a great way to go at it because you don't get yourself too excited or anything. But yeah, he was the first man. As I was pulling up, he was roaring at me.
That's fantastic. I love that. Yeah, I've spoken to Ryan a couple of times. One question he did tell me to ask, he says, apparently you're a big fan of Blue Pizza. Is that true?
You should leave that for another day, boys.
Yeah, no worries. Go on, then I'll come to you then, Joe. I mean, obviously, we'll pull away back and forth. What did you think of her performance? And to be fair, the winner and Kilbeg King have done it well in the end. Boosted a bit of form for a certain other horse. But yeah, what do you make of it then, mate?
Yeah, Kilbeg King boosted Rocco's form. But I thought the first three were pretty decent. The one that caught my eye in there, though, was the King of Rye-Hope. We had Cheltenham before, and he thinks quite a lot of this horse, and he travelled strongly. If you watch the race back again, he was just holding on to him. And it looked like when he wanted to make the move, he sort of clattered the fence. And, the first two were always rattling away head-to-head, and Apple Away wasn't far away, and that was sort of his chance gone. It did turn into a bit of a speed test after the last, and the time showed that. But yeah, nothing really lost in defeat for Apple Away. I think now, though, it sort of says to me, she skips Cheltenham and goes Aintree like she did last year. The horses that she'd probably compete against at Cheltenham, who were all 100%, if she skips that, she might be better than a 90%, 80% fit, 145 horse or whatever. So for me, I think that's where she'll go. And yeah, Kilbeg King obviously boosted Rocco's form. And Henry's friend battled really well. Great ride from Ben Jones.
Yeah, I thought it was a decent race, and I'll come to you, Rich. To be fair, I think King of Rye-Hope, I think I saw on Twitter today that I think his targets, there's a race at Aintree, I can't remember what it is exactly, but I think he's been given sort of £3 and he's going to go there. But yeah, I thought he's definitely one to take out of the race. Overall, I thought it was a decent race to watch. And I think they're all decent horses going forward. What about you?
Yeah, it was a good race, I don't know, Apple Away, I was slightly disappointed that she couldn't win a race like this. I think she did hit a few fences, so maybe there was improvement to come there potentially. But I agree with Joe. I think she might skip Cheltenham.
She was finally weighted down with my money. That's what's done it.
I think they might just stick to the same plan as last time. Skip Cheltenham, go to Aintree, go there fresh, and give it a right good go. Yeah, good race. Kilbeg King ran a good race. Was he third in the race at Christmas? That was good form. Obviously, Iroko beat him, so we like that form. King of Rye-Hope, he looked like he was going to come make a nice challenge, and then obviously he clattered a fence, and that was his race done. But yeah, overall, I think it was a good competitive race. I think some winners in there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they're definitely nice horses, all to be taken forward, and it'll be interesting to see where they all end up. So we'll keep an eye on those. Right then, moving on. I'll come back to you if I can, Stephen. We'll go to the Ascot Chase. Obviously, a very interesting race, and it was almost like it's a little bit too obvious, but Pic D'Orhy won the race. Le Home Pressé in second with Ahoy Signor and Sail Away. I mean, you might have a bit of a line on Ahoy Signor, but what did you make of the performance? We're sort of thinking Le Home Press, more of a prep for the Gold Cup, and sort of Pic D'Orhy kind of prepped to the nines for the race. I mean, what would you think looking at that race and the performance?
I suppose Harry Cobden probably was unbelievable on the day, wasn't he? There from the start, and left him ripped down over a couple of fences, and I suppose he got the horses that probably wanted a bit further were sort of out of their comfort zone, and they got a little bit of a lead. And Harry probably so Charlie Deutsch was what sort of open trip, I suppose, was going as fast as he could, and I suppose his main aim is probably going to be the Gold Cup, isn't it? I don't really know what way they're going to go, to be fair. They were leaning towards looking at the Ryanair. I suppose there's no question that the ability he has, he's got masses of ability. He just needs to go right for him on the day. He is in the Gold Cup as well, and I'd say I don't really know what they're going to do, to be fair. They'll probably leave their options on and leave it closer to the day, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an interesting one with the Hoy. If the Ryanair. I mean, we saw it was at Aintree last year. When if he gets in any sort of, he gets in that rhythm up front, he's so hard to peg back. I don't think Shishkin collared him that day, but he's got the talent. He just, like you said there, it kind of just needs to fall right for him. But
exactly.
Go on.
Well, for him on a day, any given day, he's shown time and again. He's well able to perform. He's just had one around. I suppose he's shown it year in, year out. This time of year starts changing and whatnot. He is definitely a better horse than he shows earlier in the year.
Yeah, it's like you say, it sort of comes to the ball just at the right time. So hopefully they can it can all fall right with him on whichever day he decides to go for. I'll come to you, Rich. I was sort of in agreement with what Stephen said there. I think the home press his target's the Gold Cup. I think they're just kind of making up for lost time with him. They thought they'd give it a crack. I thought Pictor, he sort of got in that really nice rhythm up front and just took it off the front and they couldn't really go with him. What did you make of that? Did you sort of agree with that?
Yeah, very much so. You know, Pictori is kind of the Ascot specialist. I mean, Shishkin beat him in the same race, I think, last year. But yeah, he just went from the front, got into a nice rhythm, and nothing could really keep up with him. You know, all the other horses potentially need a little bit further, I think. Like you say, Le Homme Pressé, obviously, back off a long injury, only had the one race for like 12 months. This was probably always going to be a prep run for the main target, the Gold Cup. So I think they'll be fairly happy with second. And yeah, we'll see how he goes.
Yeah, that's fair enough. What about you, Joe? What are you thinking?
Yeah, 100%, mate. I agree, to be fair, with all the points. Probably my favourite video of the weekend, this. I can't remember who asked him, but someone asked Harry Cobden. It was about 5 minutes before he went out, you know, what are your tactics? What are you going to do? Make all? He says no. From the start, he just goes, makes all and wins. Yeah, he was electric, wasn't he? It was just the way he just went, no, and then got up, made all. But yeah, Le Homme Press will have his day, won't he? He's just frustrating. But yeah, Pictori was electric, mate. You know, Paul Nicholls said he keeps improving. Obviously, he was prepped and primed for that day. You think Le Homme Press should improve a lot from that. Whether it's enough to challenge in the Gold Cup, I don't think so. But you never know. You can't write these off, can you?
No, you certainly can't, mate. And I mean, like I say, it's a nice one for the Gold Cup picture. I mean, hopefully he does turn up and he runs to his level because he's definitely a talented horse. So fingers crossed for connections. Right, I'll swing back to you, Joe, and we'll go back the other way. But you obviously tipped up Botox Haas in the Red Lewisham. He put Butch away pretty easily. Caelan Quinn's riding out of his skin for more at the moment. Obviously, Jamie Moore, the big news that he's retiring and he's kind of setting himself up to take over. You'd have thought. So, what did you think of Botox Haas? I mean, it's a grade 2. Do you think there's any chance in a stayers?
I don't know, mate. He's obviously been there all season, hasn't he? I know it was his second run when it was sort of, you know, all the big dogs, all the main contenders' first run of the season. Obviously, that's when he won. You know, I said it on the preview show that Botox has had the form. He had the form with all the stays. Butch had it all to prove. I know he was getting £6, but on ratings, I still think he was £5 out and he had to improve. You know, he's loved the heavy going. He is a proper stayer, isn't he? Obviously, he's won that easy. You know, you look through the form. Is it worth writing home about? No, not really. Do I think, you know, the stays like the Irish and stuff would beat Butch 9 lengths, probably more. But it's definitely a nice prep to go into Cheltenham. It wasn't a tough race for him. Yeah, and like you say, Caelan Quinn's right out of his skin, isn't he? He's got some big winners in them colours now. Nassalam was huge. Botox has. Might he add that to that tally at entry? You don't know. But yeah, no, it's positive for the move. We are definitely.
Yeah, I think Caelan Quinn's he's stepping up big time. I'm loving him at the moment. Rich, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a good race. You know, Botox has is a good horse, but in my opinion, he's not grade 1. He's probably a top grade 2, and when he runs in these grade 2s, I think he'll just keep mopping them up. But every time he's kind of stepped up to the grade 1s against the season stayers and like your Paisley Parks, even like your Champs and stuff like that, Dashel Drashers, he's always come up a bit short. I can't see he's got a lot of hope in the stays, even though it is that wide open. I think there's probably 5 or 6 horses in there that probably are slightly going to be ahead of him, unfortunately. But yeah, I think all these grade 2s are pretty much his. Like you say, he won at Weatherby in a grade 2. He's won at Haydock in a grade 2. Yeah, I just think when it comes to Cheltenham in the top races, I just think he finds quite a few that are just slightly better than him, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's fair, Cop. I mean, I'll come to you, Stephen. You know, Caelan Quinn. I mean, Jamie Moore retiring. He's obviously been a great servant. Do you think Caelan could fill in those shoes? And what do you think of Botox Haas maybe for a stay? Do you think he's got any sort of chance?
Yeah, Jamie started retiring. It's a sad thing, really. But I suppose, look, he's had some serious injuries, and he's
yeah.
Moore. He's battled on and came back from them all, but Yeah, Keelan is having a good time of it, isn't he? To sort of good yard to be attached to. He's definitely stepping up to it now, isn't he? He's not everything that's been thrown at him. He's took it with both hands, and he's really reaping the rewards now. I did probably agree with the lads about sort of Botax has. He's sort of grade 2 and sort of gets found out when he just steps up to that extra level. I might be being a bit sentimental here, but I'd love to see Paisley Park win the World Hurdle, like, and it'd be.
I'll agree with that.
It wouldn't be a shock. Like, I could see him winning. I could see him turning up on the day.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, he's been unbelievable so far this season as Paisley. I mean, the agonising seconds. You what, Rich?
Very unlucky.
Yeah, he's just riding so well. I'd love to see him powering up the hill and maybe picking somebody up later on. Even though Montehupo, if he were to be beaten by Paisley Park, I think I'd just take that all day long. To be honest, I'd rather even lose to him than anyone else.
I'd love to see him win, but I'd hate to ride him because he must be an absolute pain.
Oh, no.
You've got to put your shift in on Paisley Park. I think we had.
You just know that what's coming, don't you? You just know it's coming, but you can't ever time it. Or like, even if they go a strong gallop, he seems to always find himself back. Even if he's travelling well, turning in, he hits that spot, doesn't he?
And then he has to try and not get there too soon.
I know. I tell you what, I bet people with not great memories have backed him and thought, he come rattling home last time, I'm going to back him again. I'm going to back him again. Second.
You've always got to have a couple of quid each way on good old Paisley, so fingers crossed he runs well, and if Tom's on, then fair play and good luck to him. Love it. Right then, the other one then, we have to mention this one. We obviously had Sean Flanagan on, and he managed to get himself a nice double at Haydock on Saturday in pretty testing conditions. Now is the hour was the second one in the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle. Did you manage to watch that one, Steve? What do you think of Sean Flanagan? He rode pretty well that day, I thought. Good performance.
Yeah, he's probably not a name that I'd be familiar with people in this country that much. You know, he doesn't come over that much, but I mean, he's one of the flag bearers in Ireland, isn't he? He has been for years. He's had plenty of injuries, but remember, like when I was younger, watching sort of Noel Meads and all of these, like he was always up there. He's a very, very good rider, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he definitely is. And when he come on the show, he spoke so well, and he gave us loads of information. It was great listening to some of his rides. It was just great to see him get the double up. Obviously, Rich, I mean, he performed really well in both races, and we're probably going to have to take notice next time that it comes over. What do you think?
Oh, definitely. You know, Gavin Cromwell just seems to pick these races up like every time he comes over. You know, he's got a good eye for him. People need to start taking notice, I think, when he comes over. Then if Sean's riding him, then get your money on, because it'll not be the last race he wins over here, I'm sure.
Yeah, we should have known, really. I mean, obviously, they won the other one. They won the Grand National Trial and man. And to be honest, I mean, I was on Iron Bridge that day. He kind of had a bit of a tough run of it. It were pretty testing conditions. Heavy is probably an understatement. But Joe, I mean, it was a decent race. I thought both performances from Sean were fantastic. So fair play to him. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%, mate. Like everyone said there, you know, Gavin doesn't send them over for no reason, does he? And Sean's just coming over and winning races. You know, it seems Donahue, Flanagan and Cromwell, you know, the combo's flying over here. I'm sure they'll have some for Cheltenham too. The funny side of it was, did anyone see after he won on Man? The horse gave him a little nudge and he fell off, and he tried to mount him back on, and the horse was like, "No, you're not getting on me." Did you see it?
There was some comedy value to watching that after, I'm not going to lie. I did have a little bit of a chuckle to myself. I was messaging him now, said, "Did you fall all right?"
All you want to do is come in on the horse. You've won a big race, and let everyone clap you. And he stood walking the horse in the curly.
I can't get my call. I love it. Right then, so moving on to the Kingwell Hurdle over at Wincanton, obviously won by me and Lion. Another podcast favourite, Dal Jacob, was in second on our pick. Rich, Colonel Mustard, Goshen. Obviously didn't fully perform. I mean, I'll come to you, Stephen, if I can. I mean, did you manage to watch this race? We were on Colonel Mustard. He probably wants a bit more of a step back up in trip, the way he sort of kept on those final couple of yards. What do you think?
Yeah, I suppose the winner's been banging on the door all year.
Yeah,
he deserved to get to get his big day, kind of, isn't he? Been placing some hurdle, some good races this year. So I suppose he deserved his day, didn't he?
He did, yeah, and it was good to see. I mean, you've got some nice horses in here with, Robert obviously didn't really fully perform. Rich, I mean, obviously Goshen. What did you think of Goshen? They had the first time. Well, I think he's had first time blinkers on the track. I think it was. I think Jamie said he'd put them on a while back, but not on the course. But what do you do with Goshen now after that? Is it just a case of we're going to struggle to place him?
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, I know the ground was heavy, but it just seemed like he couldn't keep up with them. And then he stayed on at the end to finish. Was it third? I mean, it was a long way back, but yeah, I don't know. Would you just step him up and trip? Maybe it's one of them quirky horses where people will think, right, that's it, he's done, and then next time out he'll bolt up somewhere at a price, and they would be like, oh, he's back. He's one of those horses. Every time I back him, he loses, and every time I don't back him, he sometimes seems to do the business. So yeah, no idea. Not a Scooby.
Fair play. We'll have to try and get a word off more and see what he thinks, but he probably don't even know either. Joe, thoughts on the Kingwell?
Yeah, mate. I mean, they were obviously waiting for this day, weren't they? He'd been in some very competitive handicaps and he ran well. And then I think he opened up about 5-1, 6-1. He's gone off 6-5. He's had all the money. Goshen, you just don't know. Wouldn't surprise me if he turned up in a champion hurdle and beat Constitution Hill. The horse is just mental, isn't he? No one. I mean, every time George has been in the comments, who obviously works in the yard. We're trying this on. He's got this ground. He's going left-handed. That's what he wants. They just can't seem to get him right now. And to be fair, it's a bit annoying. I can imagine for an owner and a trainer, a horse has got that much talent and, something's just not there. But yeah, Nami and Lion, impressive. It's going to be tough for him to drop down to a handicap now, I'd say, because his marker, went up quite a bit for that. And, I'd like to see him win, go for more graded races. But yeah, Colonel Mustard, surely a step up now. That was 1 mile 7. I think he was competing about 2 mile 2 over in Ireland. I'd probably say he wants that, the 2 mile 2 or something near that.
Yes, I mate. Fingers crossed for him, like I say. Right, I'm going to come to a bit of a biggie now then. So I'll come to you first, Stephen, to talk about this. But obviously, Willie Mullins, we could talk about Willie Mullins bingo all night if we had the time. But he's obviously got the likes of Ballyburn, Mystical Power, Atlantic, the list goes on. And now Tully Hill has suddenly thrown his hat straight into the ring with his performance at the weekend over at Punchestown, where he put no flies on him away pretty convincingly. And now all the markets are up in the air. Who's going where? I suppose I'd say if you were in charge, Stephen, where would you go with them? And what do you think of Tully Hill and Ballyburn's chances and things like that? Just your thoughts on it.
Tully Hill is stepping down. They were running him over 2.5, weren't they?
Yeah.
They've stepped him back, and to be fair, since they've stepped him back and just left him do what he does best, he's looked fairly impressive, hasn't he? I'd say Willie Mullins could cat out and he'd probably win at Cheltenham, wouldn't he? But there's no point me trying to pick what's one. But Tully Hill has looked quite impressive since they've stepped back. The other horse looks. I seen an interview as well with Willie Mullins, and he said, if he thought that the other horse would maybe settle, he'd maybe step him out and trip. But he just looks like he's got a little bit more natural speed about him, hasn't he? So, trying to get him set to settle wouldn't maybe be the thing. He could end up running both of them, couldn't he?
Well, this is the thing, obviously Ballyburn won the 2 mile at the DRF and suddenly it was short favourite for the Supreme. And then Tully Hill comes out and does that, and then suddenly it's up in the air. And I think I might have seen the same sort of interview where he mentioned that he can be quite keen, Ballyburn, so would they want to step him up or just keep him at 2 mile? But it's just so interesting to see which way he goes. I mean, like I said there, Tully Hill, it was over 2.5 miles, but he's dropped down to 2 miles, won twice, and that one last time was pretty convincing. I'll come to you, Rich. I mean, I put in Atlantic up for the Ballymore, so the bar in Bingham, so I'd like to think he definitely goes there. But then the other three, it's kind of up in the air at the moment. What are your thoughts, mate?
I think Tully Hill's only entered in the Supreme, so
there you go. That's 2 sorted then.
That probably is his target. like you say, he started off at 2.5, finished second at odds on, and as soon as we dropped him back, he's just produced win after win. So very impressive at the weekend. I don't know. It's one of those, if Willie thinks, he wins the Supreme, then why would you send Ballyburn to go against him when potentially you can mop up the bar? Is it the bar in Bingham now and the Supreme? I think Ballyburn wins whatever race he goes to, and if it is the Supreme, he wins that. If not, then Mullins will probably win Supreme with Tully Hill, and then the bar in Bingham with Ballyburn. But Mystical Power's probably got a good chance as well. It's a nightmare, absolute nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, I'll come to you, Joe. I mean, Mystical Power's kind of the fly in the ointment. Obviously, being JPO, and you'd think Mark Walsh is going to ride him. So it's kind of like you're probably thinking Paul Townend's having a few conversations with Willie in the case of. I mean, I think Il Atlantique's the bar in Bingham definite. So it's a case of which way do they split Tully Hill and Ballyburn, and where does Paul Townend going to go? So what do you think?
Yeah, 100%, mate. Like you say, Cheveley Park are going to look at Tully Hill and say, well, we're not going to send him anywhere else. He's going the Supreme, and as Ballyburn owners, for me anyway, I know I've got him on a big price for the Ballymore because that's where I thought he'd go, but they're going to be thinking, well, England's not posting much of a threat, and we beat everyone comfortably over 2 mile. What if we get him to Cheltenham? He just doesn't settle well, and we blow our chances. We could have had a Supreme to his name. So obviously Willie's the master. Willie will know. He never plays his cards, does he? Till the week before or something like that. But yeah, it will be interesting. Like I say, I think Ballyburn's definitely the classy one in there. I think wherever he goes, if it is matching Tully Hill or if it is going the bar in Bingham, I do think Paul will be on him. But like you say, you've still got Reed and Tommy Wrong in the bar in Bingham as well, who beat Il Atlantique, albeit not by very far. But as again we say every year, don't we? Willie or the Irish have got the strong hand in both the novices.
Yeah, and it's all right us trying to decipher where they're going to go, but Willie probably won't decide till the day before anyway. So if he don't know till then, I don't think we've got much hope. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they end up.
Nobody no bet is the way.
You what, Rich?
Nobody no bet market is the
just fuck them all. No, run a no bet for every race, and then you'll end up landing on one of them. Right, so I've got one more to talk about, the big one. Obviously, we had the visit to Greenall and Guerreros at the weekend, which was fantastic. We loved every minute of that. So thanks again to those guys. And they obviously sent out Jaguar to take on the mighty Blazing Soldier. I don't know if you managed to watch this race, Stephen, but I'm part of the ownership of Blazing Soldier, so I was massive on him, even though I knew we kind of didn't really have a chance giving £7 to Jaguar. But what did you think of Jaguar's performance? I mean, he's still a young horse, sort of learning the trade. John Joe managed to get him back up. Did you manage to watch it and tell me how good Blazing's going to be in handicap next time?
Oh, he's a certainty, isn't he?
Absolute God-given certainty, as they say.
Give it away now, you get no price.
Well, luckily for us, we've already had his big price. Obviously, he won at 33s on debut. Everyone's still not telling anyone. You what, Joe?
I said, did we have a big price, Rich? I'm sure we got told, don't put too much on, lads.
Don't expect much, I think, is what the message
don't expect much. I get a phone call. Well, he's won. He's been backed in from 33s to 14. Cheers, James. Thanks, mate.
I had a good win, and that's all that matters. You've got to keep your cards close to your chest. I'm like Mullins, you know what I mean? I'll let you know about it after he's won. But yeah, no. Anyways, I mean, Stephen, did you see Jaguar? What did you think of Jaguar?
I did. To be honest with you, I actually like the second horse, Nicky's horse. I think he's a nice horse. And Jaguar looked like he was going to go and win well, and he kind of missed the last, didn't he? Done well to get up. I'd kind of watched Nicky's horse a couple of times, and I think they think high enough of Nicky's horse. So it was probably a good performance, however, making the mistake at the last. And on the way the ground was, it was quite an effort to get up from behind. I'd say it was a good effort, yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that when we spoke to the people after, they did say it were pretty testing conditions, and Carlisle could be quite a stiff ride. I mean, Rich, obviously we've been massive fans of Jaguar, and it was great to see him coming up against Blazing. The pictures have been fantastic, and I thought it was a decent performance. I think he's still got a lot more to learn, but I think going forward, especially when he starts getting a sight of a fence and things like that. I think he's got a big future, to be honest, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, definitely. We've seen this lad in the flesh, and he's a big animal. He's made for fences. So whatever he achieves over his novice hurdles is just going to be a bonus. I thought his jumping is not up to scratch, as we know. He doesn't really respect his hurdles, but I like the way he battled and stayed on. I mean, to me, he looked like he was going pretty easily until he clattered the last, and then John Dew had to really get stuck into him just so he'd battle onto the line. And thankfully, he managed to get his head in front. But yeah, hopefully we'll see the best of him when he goes over fences. Fingers crossed.
Certainly will. Joe, what were your thoughts on the whole situation? And are you going to back Blazing next time when he gets a juicy handicap mark of about 106 or something?
Oh, I don't know, mate. Depends what price he is. You'll probably tell me to back him at even money. He'll finish out the back of the telly. Pulled up.
I was telling you to lay him. I say you back him, I'll lay him.
But no, I mean, people run social media. Jaguar should have won by 15 lengths. He's odds on. He's this. He's that. McManus paid a lot for him. But we like we say, we've seen him in the flesh. We spoke to Ollie and Josh. They say he's a big baby. He's not fully matured yet. They've not got him tip top. They know he's not going to be a tip top horse over hurdles. And they're a yard that don't rush the horses. They get better as they go racing. And that was clear to see with this lad. He was just big baby travelling. And he looked like he was travelling all over them. And then he hit the last, and he looked completely beaten. He has found a lot under pressure. I know that was the question. Does he find under pressure? Because there was a couple of races when you look back. One against him, the Waterside, where I know the hurdle was taken out, but, he was travelling all over him. He didn't find much. But yeah, I think both horses, Clovis Island and Jaguar, will be both nice horses going forward. They've both battled on well, but I just think Jaguar has, when you watch the race back, he has a lot to learn, and there's a lot of improvement there, especially when he goes over a fence. But like I say, they're just not going to rush him either, and they had to get a run into him.
Yeah, I'd definitely take the first two out of the race. Maybe just forget about the rest, personally.
Excuse me?
I don't know. To be fair, there's a good 0.75 handicap, to be honest. I think next season.
Is it class 5?
Are they bringing those sellers back on, are they?
Yeah, Stephen, I think you're going to be riding him, mate, on Boxing Day, 10 stone.
I don't like to down.
Yeah, like I say, I thought Blazing ran well. I mean, obviously Jaguar needed all the weight off him to win, so it's fair enough. He should be winning when he's getting that much weight. I mean, what were he getting, about a stone off him or something? But no, a good performance from our lad. Fair play to Jaguar, and like I say, the second was, I think the fourth. Somebody mentioned on Twitter they owned the fourth as well. So I think there'll be a hot race in the end. When you look
James, you're just telling yourself that.
No. Rich, you should love him anyway. You should be thanking me for giving you the best day of your life, of course, at Newcastle.
You'd have won if we'd have gone if I was there.
You should be backing me up.
Record.
Yeah, Rich, you should be buzzing. He took you to Newcastle and told you his horse had no chance.
Yeah. Got a free coffee, that's about it.
We've got about 8 free mockers. That's all you got.
Yeah.
Right. Moving on then. Right, so that's it for the weekend's action. Fingers crossed Blazing goes and wins next time, wherever he goes. He's got a big future as a staying chaser. Can't wait. 2.5 mile chaser. Turner's horse next year. First anti-post pick for me in the series next year. So, yeah, love him. Anyway, moving on. Right. What we'd like to do in this part of the show, then, if I can, Stephen, we'll come to you and just talk about a few sort of horses you've ridden or you've probably been in and around and things like that. And there's only one place to start, really, and that's with Giovinco. Now, I put Stay Away Faye up for the Browns in like week 4 or something like that. And after you had that race against him, what are your thoughts on Giovinco and what sort of the feeling you're getting in when he might go next?
Yeah, he ran a blinder against Stay Away Faye. He, probably ground would probably have been soft enough for him. And he just it didn't really go to plan on the day, like Stay Away Faye. He'd stay all day, and we didn't want to go taking him on too soon because we sort of knew that he'd probably come out the better side of a sort of a dog fight. And he's a hard horse to sort of get to know at home. Like he's hard on himself and he's always fresh. But he came home after that and he was fresh and he was carrying on like he normally does. But it actually took far more out of him than we thought it had. And he was showing all the signs he was fine. So we went to Kempton on Boxing Day, but I knew after jumping off that day that he was very flat. He just wasn't the same horse at all.
Yeah.
We brought him home and freshened him right up, and it went the other day. Went according to plan. He wouldn't. Ideally, you wouldn't make the running on him. I think his best, one of his better runs was at Perth in the novice hurdle, and it was good ground, and it was the last time he got proper good ground, and I think a lot will probably depend on the ground. Like you say, if the ground came up sort of good genuine ground, I'd say he'd maybe go 3 mile, but if the ground stayed the way it was, I'd be half tempted to drop back to 2.5. I think he's got a very high cruising speed, and I think the faster they go, he'd switch off. And the best he's ever jumped was that day down and when he ran against Stay Away Faye, and he was enough that day as well. But he jumped electric, but he's got that high cruising speed, and I think the faster they go, the better he would be. I think.
Told you, Rich.
What you say?
No, we had a big debate, didn't we, after the Giovinco Stay Away Faye run. I put something on Twitter and it's definitely split opinions. But I said I think the race that would suit him would be a strongly ran 2.5 mile. Let him go if he needs to, even let him sit on the leader or go in front and just make use of his jumping, because he jumped really well and he seemed to travel really strongly. I said straight after, I just think there's a couple of horses in there that love the staying game too much, and horses like Stay Away Faye who love a battle, and you're going to get battling early in the big championship races, aren't you? And I just feel like 2 mile 4, if you make use of him earlier on, I think he would be a bigger danger.
Well, like I say, we'll see. Do you think they'll go to Cheltenham with him, or do you think they maybe keep him for maybe a better ground entry sort of thing? What do you think? I know he's entered in the turn. He's actually entered in the Ultimate as well, which is an interesting entry. What do you think on those, or do you maybe not know? Well, obviously probably don't know yet, do they?
Yeah, came out the other day very well. I think we're planning on going to Cheltenham. Yeah, I think we are. I suppose, look, for me, I think he deserves to probably go down and have a cut at something. Look, whatever he turned up in, if he ran the race he ran against Stay Away Faye that day down south, I think he'd probably run well, wouldn't he? No, I've got the world of confidence in him, and whether he turns up over 2.5 or 3 mile, I think he'll probably give his running. I think a competitive race, whether it's over 2.5 or 3, I think he'll probably show the best of him.
Yeah, and I agree with what you said there. He's definitely good enough to take his chance, and whichever way it goes, he'll make a good mark on the race, no doubt. Lovely, right? So I've got another one here. It's a horse I've actually backed before. It's a horse called Chapel Green. I think you won on him at Hexham. Is the time when I actually backed him. So thanks for that. And then obviously he's had a couple of a bit not poor performances, but maybe setbacks. But if he ran okay at air last time out, he's obviously marks coming down a little bit, and he's on a mark of 110 now, which is what he won off at Hexham. Do you think there's any more targets for him for the rest of the season? Maybe get another win out of him?
Yeah, to be fair, he was one that I thought this year would probably progress away. He's a big horse, and we were only biding our time to go jumping fences. And the first day at Hexham was, he couldn't have done any more. And he really stepped forward from that. He beat McCain's horse, and McCain's horses went from strength to strength. And that fella, he's just, I don't know, for some reason or another, he's never really stepped forward from it, has he? He's been disappointing once or twice, but I'd be very disappointed if he didn't get back to where he was. He's big, scopy horse, and he's built for jumping fences, but for some reason or another, he's just not. He's by Dylan Thomas. I maybe just be wondering if he wants a little bit better ground. So if we get past the depths of this winter, he's definitely one that I think will have, now that his mark is slipping down through sort of one or two bad runs, I'd be banking on him to win again in the next couple of runs.
Yeah, I suppose my other question for him. I mean, it won over one sort of the minimum trip 2 mile. The air race was over 2.5, well, 2 mile 4 and a bit on heavy, like you say there. If you think he maybe wants a bit better ground, you think they might drop him back in trip as well potentially.
I think so. We stepped him up because we were clutching at straws to find out why he was running so bad.
I mean, to be fair, he fell. He had a bad run and then fell. I suppose if he falls, it's not anyone's fault, is it really?
Because like he used to almost be keen one time and he'd always quicken up, but for some reason he just wasn't going through the races the same. So we thought we'd try and change something, but I'd say he'll probably come back to 2 mile, and if we get a bit nicer ground, I'd be hoping that he'd be getting back to where he was.
Fantastic. Well, I will definitely keep him in the trackers and keep an eye on him. Another one then is a pretty well touted horse, come from the points, horse called Primos. You won him on him at Air, and then he's had a couple of pretty tough races up in Grade 2 level, and last time out he was 4th. What did you make of sort of his performances since you won on him? Do you think there's any more wiggle room for him?
Yeah, no, he's lovely. He's probably the same. The day I won on him at Air, it was early on in the year, and it would have been good ground. I'd say the day Haydock was probably too bad to be true. You know, he travelled around with them and he stopped within a matter of strides, didn't he? And he was beat very quickly. The other day, I followed him round, and I would probably say it was the ground. I think he probably wants nice ground. I seen this morning he got a mark of 117. So I'd say if you got a bit of nice ground, he'd definitely be one you'd be in a 0 to 120. You'd be fancying him.
Fantastic. Like I say, it was a tough race that day. It was the race with Cam Sinas and the horse we really like making headway, and it was a pretty decent race that. So I wouldn't hold it against him at all. And like you say, 117's probably definitely a workable mark for him. Like you say, if he gets that better ground, we'll keep an eye on him. I've got a couple more than the lads might have any if they've got any. But there's one called Back by Jet that quite interested me that you've obviously ridden and again won on before. And he's had a couple of performances since that. What is there any sort of words on him? Is he all right still? Is he going to be out again?
Yeah, I won on him actually New Year's Day at Catterick. It didn't really know what to expect, but yeah, he done it well that day. And then he ran back there again with a penalty at Catterick, and I think it actually turned out to be a good race. I didn't ride him. They claimed the 7 off him because he had the penalty, but I think it turned out to be okay. But I actually rode him at Southall the other day in a novice, on sort of really heavy ground, and he finished 3rd. I that day thinking that he'd probably ran even better than he did the day I won on him, because he wouldn't like the ground running like that. So he'll get a mark after that, and I think he's probably the best of him will be seen when he goes jumping fences. I have schooled him over a fence, so if he gets a mark, and I'd say he might go novice chase or novice handicap, and he'd probably be one to keep on the right side of, I'd say, yeah.
Fantastic, love that. Well, I've got one more. Well, we kind of spoke about them already, but I suppose I mentioned Apple Away, obviously. We've spoken about her, Ahoy Signor. The only one I was going to mention then, if I can, I'll just get it up here because I've been told by this one. Apparently, you've got a horse named after you that's eventually entered very, very soon. It's Saratoga Steve. What's the story behind this, Steve? Come on.
Oh, he's in at Hereford on Sunday, old Saratoga Steve, yeah.
And should we expect big things from him?
Well, you don't tell your friends, so I can't tell you.
That is very fair comment. Well, we're keeping an eye on how he runs anyway, but that's fantastic. Lads, have you got any others you'd like to mention or that I've maybe missed?
He was named America during the summer, and it was one of the boys, Blair Campbell, had a horse, and he was actually talking one day, and I said, "Oh, you named him?" And he said, yeah. I said, "Oh, what have you named him?" He said, "Oh, wait until he runs." And he said, his name is Steve, yeah.
That's brilliant. I love that. That's fantastic. I love it. That's a great story. Joe's disappeared for some reason. Rich, have you got any others that I've maybe not mentioned?
there's only really one. I think you've heard him a couple of times. I Wish You has finished second a couple of times to another of the Cinders. Is it Rochival?
Yeah.
Is he potentially one to keep on side with, or I mean, he's finished second to a good one, I think.
Yeah, I think he has. To be fair, he's been beat by the same horse twice. Probably, I thought he got quite a bit closer to him, didn't he? Over hurdles, he wouldn't be your bumper type now. He'd be for going jumping. I thought he ran a good race that day, and then obviously in the junior hurdle, I thought for a minute I'd maybe get by him, but the other fella would just have a little bit more flat speed. He's probably going to be out in the next couple of weeks, and I'd be thinking once Lucinda wouldn't decide to run Rocheval against him again, I think he'd probably nearly win.
Third time's the charm.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that, Stephen. We do appreciate all your words on them. So the next sort of little bit we normally do before we come to Ante Post picks is we normally ask our guests for if they've got maybe one or two horses that are coming out soon or that you may be working with or whatever, kind of just horses to follow, to stick in the trackers. We've had a couple of winners off the guests so far, which has been pretty decent. So have you managed to think of one or two for us and going forward?
There's a horse that ran at Ayr the other day, actually. He was quite unlucky. He fell at the last, but I thought he was a big enough price in the day. I thought he'd probably run quite well, called Meyertown. He fell at the last the other day. I think he could be a nice horse. He finished second the time before, and he probably was coming back from a bit of a layoff. Mm-hmm. I'd say now that he's got a couple of runs together, I think he's probably one that could probably progress away, yeah. And then I'd probably have said the horse you mentioned, probably I Wish You. I think he'd probably be he's had one run over hurdles now, and I'd say he'll probably progress away, and I could see him winning his races.
Fantastic, love it, nice one. Right, we'll keep an eye on them and get them stuck in the trackers. Well, cheers for that then, Stephen, and for all your insight there. Obviously, we do appreciate it massively. Joe's obviously back. You all right? You back, Joe, yeah?
Yeah, mate, my sound went funny and I couldn't see anyone, so I just left and joined back.
We turned you off, Joe.
Right then, so the final part of the show then is obviously the juicy part, which is obviously we were in week 15 now. It has been a bit of a slog for some of us, but I'm going to try and not hammer Rich too much. But what we do is normally, Stephen, we'll put our picks up and we'll ask your opinion on them, and then we'll finish on a pick from you if we can. But Rich seems to put his pick up, and within 30 seconds, it's down as a loser. So hopefully can, or 24 hours, hopefully can destroy that mock tonight. But Joe, seeing as you've just turned up and come back, would you like to go first?
So my week 15 pick will be Minella Indoor for the cross country 2-point win. Yes, obviously a horse who's won the Gold Cup, course form. The interesting one for me was obviously the runner against Jerry Colombe in the Ladbrokes Champion Chase. She was travelling okay with Darrell Keefe on, and then he just basically fell out the back of the telly. Stepped him up in trip and took him to Cheltenham in December to get him some course form now, and to see them cross-country fences. Now, the way he travelled was unbelievable. He was carrying 12 stone. The horses that finished in front of him was 10 stone 8, 10 stone 2, and 10 stone 2. The horses that were around him, 10 stone 2, 10 stone 6, 10 stone 2, 10 stone 2. So, he's given, well over a stone and a half away to horses in behind him. Rachel definitely looked after him that day, give him a nice look around. He jumped every fence well, looked like he really enjoyed it. He's proven up that hill as well. I just think when he gets there, he'll be primed for this one. They clearly like the horse. They didn't want to give up on him. When you look through his form and the horses he's beaten, the races he's won, I just think this horse could be a class above these when he turns up on the day.
Fair enough, mate. It's a decent pick. What do you think of that, Stephen? I know obviously Gordon Elliott's and the lads over in Ireland are trying to make this cross country a proper classy race nowadays, it seems, by throwing these former Gold Cup horses in. But what do you think? And do you think Delta Work could maybe get a third? What do you think?
Yeah, the cross country, it really is there just to revive some of these older horses, and I suppose it shows time and time again it does work, doesn't it? I could probably see Galvin winning the cross country. I thought Gordon's trained him just for the race this year. He's probably slowly coming on for it, but as you say, Manila Indo, like, he's got all the class there, isn't he? And he's been round the course, and they're probably in the same boat, aren't they? They're just training him for the one day there at Cheltenham, aren't they?
Well, that's it. He's getting it perfectly down to a T at the moment. He's gone now with that race, so it'll probably be one of his that wins. But we'll see if you can take them on, Joe, and get you in there, mate. Fingers crossed for you. Even though I'm on Delta work. Go on then, Rich. Let's hear your. In fact, shall I go? Or do you want to wait? Do you want to go?
No, I can go if you want.
Go on, then you can go. Let's hear who's going to get absolutely destroyed this week.
So I'm going to dive into the handicaps. The Grand Annual, I've gone for a Gavin Cromwell horse, My Mate Mozzie. So he's about 7-6-1, something like that.
Hang on, I've just had a notification that says definitely goes Arkle.
Well, I read somewhere on Twitter that Gavin Cromwell said the Grand Annual would probably make more sense, but the way the Arkle is shaping up, you wouldn't rule that out either, which is great news. But he says he'd have to run above his mark to win an Arkle. So using that theory, you should probably run in a handicap, hence the Grand Annual. So that's my theory. I mean, he's won at Cheltenham back in October, beating Jetronic by 3 lengths. Probably not one of the strongest pieces of form, but he's won around Cheltenham, which is always a positive. It's the race he ran on Boxing Day in Leopardstown, where he finished a length and a half behind Finder 50. Obviously, then he's finished. That horse has then finished a neck behind, is it Ilate Tomp in the Dublin Racing Festival? And yeah, I mean, Fast Vega ran no sort of race in that and finished 4th at Leopardstown. But yeah, I think that's probably some of the strongest pieces of form. I'm not sure what rating is going to be, maybe 144, 146, I think they may be aiming for. Like I say, that rating's probably not going to win an Arkle, but for something like the Grand Annual, I think he's going to be well up there. So fingers crossed, he runs there, and tomorrow morning, Gavin Cromwell's going to come out saying, right, all roads lead to the Arkle.
So what do you think of that, Stephen? I mean, we've had to stop. We had a graphic where we put our teams up and go back through them. We've had to stop doing it purely for Rich because it's kind of embarrassing.
So Gerhardt's our best shot currently.
I think he's got 1 of 14 left. But what do you think of My Mate Mozzie there?
He's not a horse I'm madly familiar with, but I think I can remember the Keith Donoghue winning him that day. You're on about at Cheltenham.
Yeah, he did.
The typical Keith Donoghue ride, wasn't it? He got there late. But yeah, like I suppose there's parts of his form where I suppose you give him half a chance, and the way they're talking, if he's good enough for the Arkle, well, I suppose the Grand Annual would be a good way to go with the handicap, wouldn't it?
Fingers crossed.
I've got everything crossed for you. I'm completely leaving the what race was it again? Sorry,
the Grand Annual.
I'm going to completely leave the Grand Annual alone and just purely hope you get a runner. And fingers crossed for you, mate.
Just a runner will do by
just a runner would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah. Oh, love it. Right then, my pick for week 15. I am going to take a punt at the Gold Cup. Finally, I think obviously Galloping Deschamps's a tough one at the top of the market. He's going to be very, very hard to beat. But I'm going to take
James.
Could be daft.
Braveman's game.
You are?
Are you picking Braveman's game?
Absolutely not. Not in the month of Sundays and the rest. I'm going to take an each way punt at one because I thought, why not? But it's a tough race, but I thought, here we go. So I'm going to go for Gentleman's Game. I'm going to take the punt that he's going to be primed, ready for it. We obviously had Darragh O'Keefe on a couple of weeks ago. He spoke really highly of him. He said he's absolutely flying at home. He's coming along well. And I just think he's got an each way chance. He is currently 25-1 anti-post. And I think he's definitely going to make it. So I've no harm in taking that. Can I go through the rate? Obviously, Galloping Deschamps has shown us the last 2 runs that he is going to be insanely hard to beat. But he's 10-11 on in places. And it's just not a price I'm going to take for a Gold Cup. Fast or slow. I think the jury's still out with him when it comes to a Gold Cup. I know he's run pretty well behind Galloping there, but I just think at this sort of level, I'm not sure he's going to fully be able to get there. Shishkin's obviously the one we've spoke about plenty of times before, Rich. I don't think I don't think something seems to come at Cheltenham, and he just seems to bomb out. So I'm not for him. Jerry Colomb as well. Can't have him. La Home Press. Obviously, he didn't perform very well last time, but there's probably excuses there. But you're banking on him being right. I'm not too sure. Hewick was another one. Probably wants better ground. I don't think he'll quite get it. Correct Rambler got a Grand National. I'm not sure he's going to win a Gold Cup. Brave Man's Game. I'll never ever back him, Rich. Sorry, mate. I know you love him, but it'll never ever happen. I think he's just not good enough. Just not good enough, pal.
The right place if it's worth anything.
Well, if he's going to place, then Gentleman's Game's probably going to win, then, isn't he? Because he's obviously beaten Brave Man's Game last time out easily. I thought he travelled all over him and was going to win that race no matter what. I think he's a better stayer. I think he'll jump. He's obviously quite lightly raced. He's got decent form in the book, in the back over hurdles and other fences. He's won off a break in the past as well, so I'm not too fussed about the break. He won at Leopardstown. He beat Iron Maximus and a few nice horses there off a 200 and odd plus day break, so no issue with the break. I think we don't know how much improvements in him. We don't know what the Gold Cup trip's going to do. It might improve him, it might not, and if it doesn't, then fair enough. But I thought 25 to 1, I'll take a chance and fingers crossed he gets there and has a decent go. What do you think of that, Stephen? Let me know.
Yeah, I suppose we've not seen very much of him. He's obviously fairly fragile, isn't he? But the day he won at Wetherby, he didn't really, he kept grinding it out to the line. He looked like he'd have kept going. I suppose your only worry is if he makes it there. I suppose he's misplaced engagements.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we'll probably talk about it on the last show next week. We're not too when it comes to certain horses, we're not too fussed about them missing a little bit of the season, are we, boys? When we speak about a certain horse called Irocco, we're obviously mad for him, and we'll talk about him on another time. But yeah, obviously it's a risky one. He's got to get there, but fingers crossed if he does turn up, I think it's a pretty big price. So happy to take that.
Will you get 5
right,
places,
Stephen,
James?
you got Rich?
Will you get 5 places?
Am I getting 5 places? What is it on the Ante post? It might be 4 places. I'll take 4 places. How many places are you going to give me?
Might need 7.
He will need 7, yeah.
In fact, can I just back him to finish? In fact, I'll change it. I'll back him to finish in front of Brave Man's Game. That'll do me. That'll get bigger price, won't I?
I think Brave Man's Game could reverse the form.
Could.
He doesn't stay, mate. He's gone.
The only way he reverses the form is if James Orr stays over in Ireland.
Gentleman Game's still in shed out. Shed in Ireland. That's the only way he gets in front. Go on then, Stephen. We'll finish with you if we can, mate. Have you got a bit of a dart for Cheltenham? One that you maybe think is going to run well or hopefully win?
I could see Galvin running well in the cross country. I think his whole year's been prepped around it, and he's ran well in the race before. And sure, he's got the back class there, the races he's ran in and races he's won. And I think if he turns up to 90% of the best of his ability, he'd probably go close in the cross country, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think the race last year with Delta Work, it was such a tight finish, and like you say, they're both a year on. Galvin's got a little bit more experience in it now, having running it already once, so that might do. I think it's going to be a tight race, that cross country. I think it could go either way, and it could land on any of them. So I don't think that's a bad pick, mate. Nice one, thank you. Right, boys.
Match bet, Stephen.
What, Joe?
I said me and Stephen a match bet, and you and Rich for Brave Man's Game. The loser buys the beers.
Did you put something up for Gold Cup, Rich? Have you put a Gold Cup horse up yet? I forgot.
I went for Jerry Colomb before.
Oh, you went for Jerry Colomb before I got absolutely. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Forgot about that. Never mind. Yeah, never mind. Right, lads. Well, that's it.
All loses my team. That one's not going to worry me.
I know, James. We could have had a bit of fun tonight. Stephen could have had a laugh through all of our bloody teams.
I know. I should have got it up, shouldn't I?
Through all of our teams. All we go is, yeah, he's not that price anymore. Injured. Not running, skipping.
What was the Skelton one? We had Harry Skelton on Steve before we go. We had Harry Skelton on, and Rich put up Gallia della So, didn't you? For the Mayor's Chase, and within 10 seconds, Harry Skelton just went, nah, No.
He just looked and went, nah. He wants at least 3 mile. How far's the race? I think he said 2 mile 5, and he went, nah. And James went, no, it's 2 mile 4. And he went, not a chance.
Worse.
No, he needs further.
Well, we can't win them all, Rich, but as long as you get at least one runner at the festival, you'll be happy.
There's always next season, isn't there? I'll be more prepared next season.
You'll be more prepared next season. Let's put it down to an experience. Put it down to an experience, mate. All right, you're from the flat, aren't you? You're just getting used to it.
Next season,
cross country next year.
That'll be the double Brave Man's Game cross country and Blazing Soldier and the Turners for James.
I can't wait for Brave Man's Game in the cross country next year. That'll be hilarious. I'll tell you what. That'll be some sight. Oh, brilliant. Well, it's been a fantastic show tonight, guys. Stephen, again, thank you so much for coming on and giving up your time. Hope you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, no, we did. Thanks for having us on.
No worries, mate. Thanks for coming on. Joe, Rich, any other last words before we shoot off?
No, mate. Thanks for Go on, Rich.
Yeah, it was a great show. Thanks for coming on. Yeah.
I'm away to Peter.
What's that, sorry?
I'm away to watch Blue Peter.
Like I say, yeah, thanks for coming on. I didn't get to ask about the horses. There's a horse, a nice horse in the yard called Saratoga Steve, I believe.
We've already spoken about it. Oh, one other thing then before you go, Ryan said to me something like, you got like a lifetime supply of sun cream or something. You once get a bit sunburnt one day and ended up in hospital or something.
Yeah, I ended up in hospital with 3rd-degree burns one time. Yeah.
Ooh. Oh, that is. I don't know how you managed to do that, but fair play, Stephen. Fair play, mate. But yeah, you are.
They never woke me up. They left me there to burn and then laughed about it afterwards. But,
yeah. Oh, he never said that, did Ryan? He didn't say that, did he? Oh, that is not good.
We got to the holiday and we fell asleep. I fell asleep outside in a sun chair. And I was asleep in the sun chair and I had my hands over my tummy and I had my phone on my chest and the whole imprint burned onto my chest. And I got blisters on my feet. I ended up having to go to the hospital. My feet were swollen. I couldn't wear for 2 weeks.
Oh my God! Jesus. I hope you gave Ryan a bit of a rinsing after that for leaving you. Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Well, hopefully you're all right
That's
now.
That's why they're not mates anymore.
Oh my God, love it. Well, it's been a great show. Like I say, thanks for coming on, Stephen. Appreciate it. Thanks to everyone who's watched and hope you're enjoying the shows. Like and subscribe. We'll be back on Thursday night for the next preview. We've got the competition winner coming on as a pundit, so we're looking forward to having him on. And we've got one more show, which is next Monday, and hopefully another guest lined up. And it'll be all roads lead to the Cheltenham preview night, which I'll be announcing later in the week. So again, Joe, Rich, thanks for your time. Stephen, thanks for coming on again. And we'll see you all next time. And thank you for watching. Thank you and goodbye.
Cheers, boys.